Hey, I'm Adam, the games therapist. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I believe that games can be powerful clinical tools when we use them intentionally. Today, I'm going to review Forbidden Island. All right, so let's talk about Forbidden Island. So, Forbidden Island is a cooperative game for about 2 to 4 players. The goal is to collect 4 mythical treasures before the island sinks back down into the ocean. The recommended age here is 10 years or older, but I have successfully done this with someone as young as 7. If you do have a younger client who you feel like could handle this kind of game and they're younger than 10, then I'll leave it up to you. Leave it to your best judgment. This is a medium paced game. It requires strategic planning and cooperation in order for the team to achieve its goal. The emotional rhythm of this activity, it oscillates between calm, problem solving, planning to sudden spikes of stress, right? Because when those flood cards come into play and you see how the island's going to flood, it could be very possible that the plan that you just made with your client or the client's made with you, we got to throw it. We can't use that anymore because that pathway or that area that we wanted to get to is now flooded and we have to deal with that now. Players need to openly talk here and talk through decisions and make those plans together. And that problem solving that you're doing together is essential. If one player goes down, whole game's over, right? This is a all or nothing kind of activity. If one adventurer falls into the ocean, well, not, you can swim. There's like a treading water mechanic, but you don't have to worry about that right now. If one character sinks to the bottom for whatever reason, the whole game's over and you have to start over again. So these adventurers, even though they're stealing these treasures, they will not leave their friend behind. So this game can usually take for up to 20 to 30 minutes, maybe a little longer on your first time. The setup and the cleanup is very minimal, and you can easily fit this into a standard kind of 50-minute outpatient session. Forbidden Island works well in both individual therapy and in family therapy. I've done it in both settings, and both have been very, very successful and very, very clinically useful and rich. There's a heavy emphasis here on compromise and coordination, right? Clients in this situation are having to think together. So they are thinking with the therapist or thinking with their parent or whomever, rather than just acting independently. Because in this activity, if you are operating independently, then there's no way for us to succeed. Maybe someone could pull off collecting all 4 of the treasures, but what if someone goes down? And each character in this activity has unique abilities that can be used to be successful. This activity is really, really strong for building, all kinds of regulation. Emotional regulation, frustration tolerance, regulating with social skills, executive functioning skills here. If there's any work that needs to be done, or just to assess what they are, the opportunities come up naturally. You're going to see how they organize their thoughts. You're going to see how they organize an argument or a stance. Like, I want to go this way, or I think we should do this. And they're going to tell you why. And that gives you really, really useful information. Also, kind of bringing things back to that social communication piece, that is constantly being practiced here. There should be this back and forth happening all the time about, how are we going to manage these flooded tiles and which treasure should we go for next? I would say that treatment goals that this activity could support. So I'm always thinking about, if I'm writing this in a note, what is the justification for using this activity in this session? So I would say this can target practicing of coping skills, frustration tolerance, sustaining attention, impulse control, communication skills, social skills, and lastly, social problem solving. Here are the things that I am paying attention to while I'm using Forbidden Island in a session. How do they handle a fully cooperative activity? This is not Uno. We are not competing against one another to see who is going to win ultimately in the end. So we are all working together as a team. Can they collaborate when success fully depends on the team succeeding, with everyone working together? And also, how do they respond when their idea isn't the one that the group or team chooses? I can remember one time where a client wanted to carry all their treasure, right? And that didn't work out. Uncertainty is a major part of this game. It's actually one of my favorite parts of this game. The island is always changing, okay? Plans can fail even when everyone does everything right. The best laid plans don't always guarantee success, and this is a nice little microcosm of that. and getting to practice that in a session. It's also a great opportunity to see how clients respond to unpredictability. Every round, those flood cards will come out and new parts of the board are going to flood. And you can't always anticipate what part's going to flood. I'm also watching how clients handle losses. Sometimes that's strong planning, like we said. Sometimes it still doesn't work out. What happens emotionally when all of that effort doesn't lead to success? How do they recover if emotional dysregulation shows up? I'm also looking for, like I said, how they handle losses and what emotions are coming up. Is it coming up with a lot of frustration? Is it coming up with disappointment? And we're going to name those things, and we're going to name those things without shame, right? We're going to make observations without shame. One topic that's going to come up a lot in every single video that I'm going to make is talking about rules I flex. You're going to find that my answer is pretty consistent most of the time, with some exceptions, and you'll see what those are. For Forbidden Island, I do not flex rules at all. The difficulty modifier is actually built into the game, so you can adjust the difficulty right from the start. You can scale the challenge here without changing any of the core rules. If a client does get dysregulated, like I mentioned earlier, this gives really strong moments to practice some skills and do some kind of classic clinical intervention. I'm going to normalize that frustration, right? I can't tell you how many times I've said, that makes sense. I'm frustrated too. I'm bummed that that didn't work out. I thought that was a really good idea that you thought, and the island just didn't, it flooded in a way we didn't expect. I very much like to focus on recovery and not on preventing the emotion. Just let the feeling happen and support their return to baseline. And that's a big reason why I don't like to flex rules. I don't want to create a situation where it's easier than intended, right? I'm comfortable with someone getting really upset with how a game functions, and we can share in that moment and we can use that to grow in skill. I like to offer choices instead of control. We're going to keep playing, but if we don't want to keep playing, then maybe we're going to take a breath. We're going to use a coping skill. We're going to do something. We're going to reassess. The flooding. The flooding is the most frustrating part of the game, but it is also the most therapeutically useful. Roots just disappear. Objectives can become harder in an instant. And I can't tell you how many times clients want to bargain or undo what has just happened. And it's so important, so important. Don't give in. Don't give in. Let it play out, reassess, adapt, do what you need to do. But that flooding is just, it's a beautiful mechanic. That challenge is where the work can happen, right? That's a beautiful spot for clinical work to happen. And the success, I feel like, means more when they tolerate the frustration instead of trying to escape it. All right, we're finally at my favorite part of the video, which is the therapist verdict. There are 6 categories that I'm going to address in each video to kind of give a rating out of 5. The first category is going to be therapeutic value, which I rated a 4 out of 5. Forbidden Island gives a lot of clinically useful material. It's strong for observing stress, pressure, uncertainty. It's helpful for seeing how clients organize their thoughts and how they build their strategy. The collaboration also reveals any patterns or behaviors around compromise. Second category, emotional activation and regulation. For this, I gave this a 5 out of 5. The sinking island naturally creates stress when plans suddenly change. There are strong opportunities for regulation in real time. The constant communication and that readjustment creates high quality conversations that are happening. I've found that repeat players often come in already mentally prepared for that challenge. So I have kids who, after beating it the first time on the easiest difficulty, they want to come back and try it on the harder one, and the even harder one, and the even harder one. And it's really fun to see them grow with that over time. Next category, flexibility and adaptability. I also gave this a 5 out of 5. This gets a 5 from me because it is one of the most adaptable games that I use. That difficulty adjustment is built directly into the game design. You can make this as hard or as easy as you want and not compromise on the core values of the game. It's easy to scale up or down depending on what the client needs that day. A client's chosen difficulty can sometimes tell you what kind of mood they're in that day or how they're feeling. And what I like about this activity is that it works even below the recommended age range. Because that challenge can be lowered, this whole difficulty scale thing does wonders for this activity. Next category, engagement and buy-in. I also gave this a 5 out of 5. The proof is in the pudding. I've never had someone quit. And knock on wood, I've never had someone quit on Forbidden Island once it started. The premise does a lot of the work. Adventurers stealing treasure and escaping before an island floods. It's just fun. It's just cool. It's easy to pitch to someone. The 20 to 30-minute length helps the activity feel manageable. It doesn't feel like you have to have this, huge epic board set up and it's going to take forever and then you won't even get to finish it because the time will run out. The shared success at the end feels exciting and it feels rewarding. It feels like our plans worked. And even when our plans didn't work, we adapted, we made it work. Especially when you up that difficulty, it's really satisfying. There's a strong like Ocean's 11 energy when you escape successfully, as if we ran around, we grabbed all the things, we grabbed our buddies, we got in the helicopter, we got out. Man, it just feels good. Next category, session fit and practicality. For this, I gave a 4 out of 5. It is very easy to set up. It's a modular board, so the island shape stays fixed, but the tile placement changes. It does need a flat surface like a table, a desk, or something like that. Clients do usually enjoy helping build the board because it doesn't matter which tiles goes where as long as the board shape is what the directions say. It does fit comfortably inside of a standard session. Like I said, the 20 to 30 minutes, you could maybe even play twice when you start to get really good at it. The game is very portable. It can easily probably fit in like a tote bag or a backpack, but it does come in this tin box, which looks very nice, but it ends up being quite bulky. So it may be hard to fit that and other things in a bag. So my last category, and to me and to the other therapists out there, I think this is a really important one and maybe one that we don't always talk about, which is therapist enjoyment. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. This is one of the first non-traditional games I used when starting work in community mental health. So it has a special place in my heart. It does have strong replayability because that difficulty can be scaled up and down. Clients, like I said, they often want to revisit it and test themselves over time. I get asks like weeks to months later, hey, let's play Forbidden Island again, but let's make it harder. And when you do it with that kind of lens, it's great for noticing growth over time across sessions. But one thing that I'm going to say to each and every one of you out there who are watching, if you don't like the game, don't bring it. Don't bring it to the session. If you are there and, internally rolling your eyes or just not fully in, the client's going to know. It's going to impact the engagement that they are going to bring because they're seeing that you're not fully in. So bring things that you like. Bring things that make you excited, things that you feel passionate about, because that's infectious. Forbidden Island is a great reminder that even simple cooperation can reveal a lot in a session. Well, everyone, thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes the right game opens the right conversation. I'll see you in the next one.